It's up, y'all. It truly is. If you like, you can consider me your brother's son, and I'm grateful to be counted as one of God's wonderful people. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of the forever family of God. To be buried in His name, to have the greatest miracle given, the Spirit of the living God dwelling inside, and to be able to be in the way. This is kind of a part two to the share that I titled Wow, simply because this share is based on the same message given by my seasoned brother Lee Stone King. I first of all have to preference that I am a forever grateful sinner, a wretched man with countless trespasses and iniquities. And yet, the great God of heaven saw all of this, knew all of this, and reached down and pulled me out. So that's why I feel it is not just my responsibility, not just my duty, but I count it as an honor and a pleasure to be sitting in this room, looking into this phone, and just making my voice heard. So I'm going to title the main idea of this as "What time is it?" So in the video, in the message that was given, my seasoned brother, God is speaking through him to me about a generation. He's talking about the generations. And I didn't do any research. I'm just based on going by what was said and the thoughts that came to me. Okay? Where he mentions, according to the scriptures, when it talks about a generation, there's many places it talks about generations, that is based on about 70 years. So 70 years is about a generation. That made sense to me, and even though I have to be careful not to lean to my own understanding for the sake of this share right now, 70 years. And he began referring, because of course we're talking about the rapture and the coming of the Lord and things of that nature. And in recent time, I've come to the conclusion, whether right or wrong, no one knows, I sure don't know, but from my limited understanding, the belief I hold as I speak now is that the rapture will take place, and then the tribulation, and then the worst, Antichrist and all those things, and whatever. So the belief is that because I'm here and the Spirit of God is living inside of me and He's really doing something, that the rapture has not taken place yet. Because my belief is that the rapture in itself is God calling His Spirit back from the earth, which is the only force that is hindering force against the powers of darkness. So when he calls his spirit back, those whom have the miracle, the miraculous, that have that spirit of the living God inside them, they're attached to the spirit getting called back, so they get raptured away. And then now darkness is free to do whatever it wants, and it really gets bad. So with that said, my thought is, when he talks about, so when we're talking about the rapture, when I hear people saying, and even if I say it, because I've been trained to say that, the coming of the Lord, for me to say the coming of the Lord is near, for me that translates into the rapture has been taken and I'm waiting for him to come back. My mind is being transformed where I'm waiting for the call. So with that said, the generation, 70 years, and the speaker who God was using to speak to me was referencing when Israel became a nation. And if I'm not misquoting, hopefully you'll go back and be blessed by it yourself. I'll put the link in the description that it was 1948 when it became a nation again or something like that. So 70 years would have been 2018, the generation. So this goes to the what time is it? Because I'm going to be honest, there'll be times when I see things going on and just things happening externally and internally that make me question, did the rapture take place? You know, did I miss it? And that's why they're saying we're waiting for the Lord to come back, so on and so forth, right? Transparency. And so 2018, right? The end of this 70 years, which would have been a generation. Because the message was given in 2015. So they were looking ahead to 2018. Like, hey, he's coming. Or, I believe he said he's coming, or we're getting out of here. Well, that brings me to 2018. 2018, a relationship with God was forming. It's not like it is now. It has grown, and I'm grateful for that. But there was something there. At the time, I won't get into that. So I was praying and seeking the Lord. And I still remember I was in the kitchen in the home I grew up in. This is 2018 now, right? And all of a sudden, to be careful with my words and not to give credit where it's not due and so on and so forth, a power came over me. And as I was praying or worshiping, I prostrated myself. I don't remember if I first prostrated myself or if this power prostrated. I'm just going to say maybe this power came over me. It was not audible words, but it caused me to prostrate. And as I was laying on the ground, and I don't remember exactly, it was in conversation in we time, whether I was worshiping or glorifying or praying or whatever, but the feeling was I was being pressed down. So I was prostrate, but I was being pressed down. So as I'm laying on the ground, it was like I was being pushed into the ground. Or say if gravity got turned up and started, I still remember the thought I had though was that, for right or wrong, this is just what happened. My thought was like I was in the presence of God. But before God came, like his angels go before, because he is the king and he has the royal procession. And it goes back, I kind of refer it now. This is not how I was thinking before, but using the experience I had now with what I know now, could it be like Elijah? Was it Elijah? Elijah, when he was in the cave and the earthquake and the wind and all that stuff, but that wasn't God. That was like the greatness precedes him, his power, his glory, his aura precedes him before. In any case, it was like something was saying like bow in the presence, so to say, but I was being pressed into the ground. So this experience happened or whatever. To give you an insight, I was thinking, because I want to make myself low in his sight. The thought, right or wrong, but it's what happened. It was like I was being stepped on, so to say. So I'm so small in the eyes of God. I don't think it was being stepped on the crush, but I'm under. He's so great and so big. If the earth is his footstool, then I'm under his foot, because I'm on the earth. Now, I just had some thoughts, and I don't think it's the negative. Hopefully not, Lord. But everything is under him. So I felt like, and I've said it before to people, you have members of the body. Maybe that's why I had the thought, I don't know. But you have members of the body, and you have the hand and the foot. Me, I want to keep myself in a place of lowliness. So I refer to myself as say, okay, I've never heard anybody else choose this body part, so I'll be the foot bottom, So in any case, that happens. This was sometime, I believe, like close to the weekend, right? 2018. So let's just call it Friday or so, right? It's just for the sake of where they're trying to bring this somewhere. Friday. Sunday, as I said, during this time, there was relationship being formed and things. So I go to, it's Sunday, so of course I go to celebrate with the rest of the saints at the local sheepfold. And after the celebration gathering is over, the mention is, and keep in mind, today is now Father's Day of 2018 on the Sunday. So after the celebration gathering is over, it's made mention that there's not going to be an evening gathering scheduled. I guess for in observance of the day, they're saying go enjoy. So, but they did mention that they wanted some work to be done, so they called on, if I believe, the men that'll help out to come back a little later. And so I said, okay, that's what I was gonna do, and that's what I actually did. So I came back later, and I come back, and as I'm pulling into the parking lot, I see an older, and I won't even use race because it's not important, an older lady standing on the corner. She has a shopping cart with her stuff in there. So I guess judgment, someone of low estate, of low means, her possessions are in her shopping cart. So I stop and I go to, and I begin to interact. And I don't think I should go through everything, but I interact. And I don't know if it was because of the experience I had the couple days before, where I was thinking like, bow down because God's coming or whatever. Maybe that's what it is. God is on his way. That I don't believe in my mind I said this is God in front of me, but I perceived it as an angel. The reason I was being prepared before was because the angel, right? So I prostrate myself before. And I've thought about this But this is what happened. I prostrated before because I felt I was in the presence of an angel. And I have to say that while these things were happening, I felt like I was in a dreamscape. Dreamy, so to say. Now, I've again thought about this too because I've heard things, and whether or not it was spiritual experience, whether or not it was something happening in the mental, whatever, this is what happened. So, prostrate before, after that, there were some things that happened because the person in front of me, there was a point during our interaction out there, she was rubbing my head. She also at one point puts fingers like this up to the side of my head. But all this happens, it comes to happen, and then I still remember she had these two phones, and in the phones they didn't have any power, no service, so they weren't even on. And she kept on repeating these things like, you know, I've been calling you. So part of me was like, is this a crazy lady? You know, that was like the conflict inside me. Is this like just a crazy person that's homeless, or is this something divine that I'm just not understanding? In any case, this person invites me to go to Waffle House. Can't make this up. But this is what happened. So we end up going to Waffle House. I'm putting her stuff in the car because once again I'm feeling, okay, I'm in the presence of this. This is something divine happening. So I want to be of service. So I'm taking the stuff out of the shopping cart, putting it in the car. And she had her purse. And I remember the purse, all it had, because it was open, and all it had in there were books. All I saw were books. I can't make this up. And so everything else I was putting in the cart, no problem. As soon as I go to grab the purse to put in the car, she says no. That she holds close. Again, at that point in time, I was saying this is divine. My thought was, oh my gosh, this is divine because look, those are the books. Whether right or wrong, this is what happened. It could have been that she just had her money in there. And she, whatever it is, she held that. Okay. Went in the car, we had the meal, whatever. This whole time, it's still like dreamscapey. You know, like, there was just this, it wasn't like, as I'm talking to you now, it wasn't this same atmosphere, I think is the best word. Things didn't look the same or feel the same or whatever. So after this, after the meal, we're there, and I'm still just in awe, right? I'm still thinking this is something divine. We go out. Then the part after that, because I don't want to depart, but I'm saying, hey, where you want to go, what you want to do. So she's taking me to this area, and she's going around, and then you got people following, and she's screaming out demons to these, right? Again, this is just what happened. Back to the topic, what time is it? And I hope I'm not too long. Maybe I'll cut the story short. In any case, I decide to part ways. Because at some point I'm saying, okay, my mind starts changing, saying, maybe this person is, maybe it's not what I think it is. Maybe I'm looking too hard. Or maybe I'm being tricked. You know, these kind of thoughts. Doubt starts creeping in. There was an incident that also happened that made me think, oh, you know, if this was a divine being, how could something like this that I perceive to be evil show up? And I'll just let you know, it involved a man with a gun in his waist. Can't make this up. Or much less would I even make this up. So in any case, I depart ways, get her a cab, and she goes on. The individuals before we depart is telling me how she's going to another part of South Florida. I'll just put it that way. In any case, we part ways. This was Sunday. I end up going home with this experience, right? The Wednesday of the same week, 2018, I wake up that morning and something seems off. And when I say off, it's like there's a stillness. At the home I grew up in, there are birds everywhere. You're woken up by birds. We even got, some people that got some chickens and a rooster. And the rooster, I guess the sound a rooster makes is crows. Whatever the sound they make, we know, whatever it's called. It does it every time of the day, whatever it feels like, apparently. But there are sounds, especially early in the morning. My memory, it was still, and it just seemed odd to me. Now, could it be that I'm pairing it with what happened the week before, saying, hey, the approach of God where I was prostrated underfoot, then the visitation of an angel, I'll put it like quotes because I don't want to put the credit where it's not. Lord, forgive me if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, but the visitation on Sunday, and then Wednesday, this stillness, right? So my first thought is the rapture is taking place. That's why there's this stillness. That's why this. And then I get this weird phone call. I'm not going to put the party's name out there, what the phone call entailed, but I get this weird phone call. And I've made mention of this before, not publicly like this or putting it out for the world to be able to view. But I've made mention of this to the individual, and the individual has no recollection. Again, while things seemed odd, this couldn't have been a dream because there were things that take place, which I'm going to share, that I got paperwork to show it wasn't a dream. Things really happened. But in any case, the conversation, and it was kind of like the conversation was, I'm in darkness. I'm in a dark place. So me thinking the rapture is taking place and we got left behind, and one of these people that I assumed is like, oh, everything's dark in a dark place. So me, I'm sitting here saying, find the light, go to the light. One thing I'm grateful is that God has always had a place of hope in me. And that's why the question is, what time is it? I don't have the answers, but I ask the question. What time is it? Because his spirit, brings hope, brings light. And no matter all of these things taking place, no matter what I think, what I do, what's happening, what's going on, what I feel, there's this glimmer of hope. And I say that has to be with the Spirit of God. In any case, trying to redistribute this hope, because we all wane in our faith and lose hope. It's the ups and downs in life, and the importance of connectivity is that when I'm down, you can be up and help, and so on and so forth. So in any case, the phone call ends, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I would assume, I can't recall this, but I can only assume that I would pray or be sorrowful. God, I got left behind? Especially if I thought I'm having these experiences before, saying, okay, I'm in the presence and God has sent his angel to visit me and so on and so forth. Did I mess up? The rapture took place and I got left behind. Was it because I was supposed to stay with the angel? Because at the end I got frustrated and I was like, you know what? I think we should depart. And that's kind of how the departing took place. It was on me, regardless of whatever, you know. Lord, did I do wrong? You know, did I operate outside of your will? Did I get into myself, which happens, is a common happening, and I believe it's because of this thing here. To use a word I've heard in another scripture, we just like Elijah, he was, what is the exact word? Subject to, it keeps slipping me, but hopefully you know and you're helping me out there. He was subject to like passions or something like that. But the human condition, he was subject to the human condition like all of us. So I'm subject to the human condition in any case. So I guess I'm dealing in this condition. God, I can't believe, Lord, what? In any case, the evening comes around. And at this point in time, I was at the home I grew up in by myself. I'm watching television, and I'll just say I was self-medicating, okay? I was self-medicating. I overdid it. I'll say that. I overdid it. No, but to backtrack, because I don't want to leave out these points. So this happens. Still in the morning, not too long after the conversation, I go down to the local sheepfold, right? Because I was going down there and just looking to be a part, be around, you know, God's people, you know, my forever family. So I go down there and I go in and, you know, I've said it many times before, but I mistreated one of my senior sisters, okay? The thought was, and actually what happened in passing, I do recall the thought, and the thought was, if the rapture's taken place, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore. I was in a place of hopelessness. So that's really, wow. This is happening right now where the Elijah thing, just like Elijah, subject to this humanity, Elijah in one hand could do all these great miracles, and in the other hand be so afraid of Jezebel that he runs and he wants to die. I know that so well. This is now coming to me here where on one hand, remember this phone call I talked about, how trying to give hope, right, in what seems like a hopeless scenario, because if the rapture has left us, I'm still giving hope. But then not too long after that, I fall into the hopelessness myself, and the thought comes and says, well, it's hopeless now. You've been left behind. You can no longer be saved. And so with that thought, again, I became very offensive to my sister, a senior, and this is a senior, not senior, one of my seasoned sisters, a seasoned saint. And to this day, I don't even recall, for whatever reason, exactly who. And I've made mention in prayer, and God has forgiven me, but I'll just use this as a public display of apology if it hasn't been reached already. But okay, so that takes place, and then I, of course, leave there, and I'm home. And that evening, pick the story back up, self-medicating, do too much. The thought comes back again. This hopelessness comes back again. Well, you know, if the rapture, there's no hope. So it's like in my mind, I said, I'm going to test the theory. I decide now, after all this, I'm going to test the theory. So if this is true, and at the time when I was medicating, I'm in my own home. I'm nude, right? I decided to test a theory that, well, if it's really the rapture's taking place and there's no hope, then I can go out, I can leave the house, go to my backyard naked, and then come back, right? Oh God. Now this is actual the thought. I'm contemplating this, and I ended up doing it. I will say at this point in time, this is where it gets iffy. Because now at this point in time, I'm no longer having thoughts. It's like I'm just a passenger in my own body. Okay, let me just say that. Where I'm recalling bits and pieces, but I'm just there for the ride. I've tried to speculate on things, but I'll just speak the facts without the speculation. So this happens. I ended up going, long story short, the house I grew up in is a 2-story house. Without the use of a ladder, I end up on the roof of the home. Can't make this up. Can't make this up. No ladder, mind you. End up on the roof. I'm on the roof, and this is now when I recall another thought. And the thought is like, what am I doing up here? I gotta get down from here. I decide we have a large tree in the backyard, and I can see the tree. I'm just gonna climb down the tree. All I remember is reaching out for the tree. That was it. The next memory is me waking up on the ground. Mind you, in this backyard, it's not a large backyard, but everything in the backyard is concrete. Everything is concrete. There's only one small place that's only like a couple feet wide where there is dirt. I end up there. Now, to interject in here, this is not going to be, I'm going to keep this video because of the length. I don't want to cut it short. I want to keep it in real time. This will only be available on the channel, but I could have left that out. Continuing the story. I find myself on the ground. I'm hurting, of course. Just to interject, the interaction from the few days before on Sunday is, wow, twofold. Because then I'm thinking, okay, I thought this was an angel of the Lord. Was this like a demon? That like when it was rubbing my head, did it curse my brain and that's why this experience happened? Where like I was like a zombie, where like I didn't even know what was going on? That caused this to happen? Or could it have been that it was an angel of the Lord where the knowing what was going to take place was like bless the mind or whatever. In any case, I believe that angels came and made me land in the only spot. Despite whatever happened, I landed in this spot. It had to be a guiding. Because I was unaware of the whole situation. In any case, I get up hurting, but I'm like, remember the thought. I think it's time to go back in the house now. Okay. But because I'm in my backyard, but because I got through my backyard by leaving the front, I had to jump my own fence to go back around the house, go back in the house. I jumped the fence, and there's law enforcement. Guns drawn. I can only imagine. They see a naked guy coming over the fence. This is my fence, but, right, who was just on the roof. Of course, I get down. As I'm laying on the ground now, the gun is drawn. It's actually pointed on this side of my head, right? The days before that Sunday, remember I told you how this motion was done? So my interpretation, I guess now at this point I'm thinking, oh, that was a demon. And I'm sorrowful because I'm saying, God, I worshiped the devil. I gave myself over to the enemy. And this is the consequence, right? You have death. Because I only want to worship God, the giver of life. And so in the sorrow, so as I laid there in the grass, and I do remember some other things happening. I won't get into all that. I was saying, okay, this is it. So as I laid in the grass there naked, it was like I was preparing, but then it was like, what time is it? What am I preparing for? If the rapture is taking place, this is what's taking place, and now you're given over to the enemy. So that's why this happened to you, and that's why now you're going to be taken out. Because my thought always was, once the Spirit of God is taken away and the enemy is free, those that get left behind, those that have the truth, even though, and I'll put myself, even though I messed up, but I've been given the truth and I got left behind, I still have the knowledge of what the truth is. And I'm possibly still a threat. So my thought was, when the rapture takes place, the first ones that the enemy's coming after, darkness coming after, of those that have been left behind that had the truth. Because now they can still profess and claim. So these were the thoughts. Oh, God. I'm like, okay, well, it's true. I got left behind. That's what time it is. I got left behind. And so the raptures, they're coming for me. They got me like a couple days later. Clearly, it didn't go according to what I was thinking. But they did take me to a loony bin. I guess understandably. 2018, right? So, I said that to bring it here. I don't remember when I started having the thought, whether it was 2018 or before, but I had this thought that would say, or in the conversation was, if indeed I do get left behind, God forbid, would I praise? What would I do, sort of thing? Would I be sorrow? What time would that be? Would I be sorrowful and just weep and cry and then say, okay, well, I missed it. I guess I'll just do whatever I want to do. I guess I'll just, which I did. I guess, well, since, it's too late, I guess I'll just go out and I'll just go out leave my house naked. Or I guess I'll just live in excess when I said I over-medicated. Or I guess I'll just hurt others. Because it doesn't matter, right? Or, and this is basically where I'm at now, or would that be the time to give praise? Because thank the Lord, as I live and breathe right now, just like David, whether I'm in his presence or I make my bed in hell, he is worthy to be praised. He never stops being worthy. So what would I do? And even now, there's things that happen. I say, God, what is going on? That thought still plays, especially when I hear people saying, not just people, but these are, part of the forever family. We're waiting for the coming of the Lord. With my understanding and my thought now saying, well, if I'm waiting for the coming of the Lord, then the rapture took place. Because I believe, again, I'm not a theologian or anything. This is just my personal share, that the rapture will take place And we, the church, will be with him for what feels like one day in heaven, but it'll actually be 1,000 years here on earth. And after that's over, then we will return after the marriage supper, after the wedding party. Because I believe the rapture is when, okay, now we're married. You know, the bride to the bridegroom. The body connects with the head of the church, so to say. And so we're celebrating the marriage feast. We're celebrating for what's one day there, but it's 1,000 years here. And then after that's over, after the honeymoon, we will return with the husbandman, with the head. He will clean out. It's like he will come to the old house and he will clean out the squatters and the tenants, and he will create the new. So we will now live forever with him in the new home, new heaven, new Jews forever, right? We will live happily ever after. And so, kind of missed my thought there. It's okay. I'll just pick up anywhere. Hopefully it'll connect. That's that, once again, so much coming out. With the thought of what time is it? So it's like, okay, as it is now, that was 2018. Listening to this message, what time is it? Is it time to panic? Speaking out loud to myself. Is it time to fear? Is it time to worry? Is it time to lose hope? I say to myself out loud, no. Never. For even if, God forbid, the rapture has been called and I'm left here awaiting the judgment, I find myself on the wrong side. Is it time to curse God? Is it time to overindulge? Is it time to stop studying and stop communicating? I say no, never. Excuse me for a moment. I love you, Lord. I hope you know I love you, Lord. For I don't believe, and my master just gave me a reminder. I don't believe it is time to panic and fear, because the rapture has not taken place. Because he will call back to himself so that we can enjoy the festivities, have the reception, and then honeymoon for eternity. So I don't believe that he has called the rapture. 2018, the end of the generation, so to say, he has called the rapture. So my thought is, it's not based on maybe particularly the people of Israel. Maybe he's going to deal with his natural people after he has finished refining his bride, we the church. Whether you're of Jewish descent, African, Asian, Caucasian, whatever descent, his people. I believe we're still waiting on the call. I'm praising, I'm glorifying, I am magnifying, not until he comes, but until his spirit inside gets the call. That's what time it is for me. Lord, help me not to judge others who may think differently. That's okay. We understand God differently, and I don't think there's a right and wrong. As long as we're based on the scripture, God reveals himself differently to us, the same God. Because we understand differently, learn differently, so on and so forth. So with that, I want to say I'm grateful for this privilege and this opportunity, for this time to be able to share. I am Captain Eon, and I am God's living testimony eternally.